You build a shell after a while. When you've been through something like this, you learn very quickly that you have to protect yourself. And sometimes that can come off as being hardened by it.
It all started as a routine traffic stop late last night.
Even to this day, it's difficult for me to think about. There are still some things that I never got back after that night. And I know now that your life can change just like that.
This is a photograph from one of the ATM machines at the drive-thru from the bank surveillance cameras. The ATM cameras only took one picture every 14 seconds. So the 14 seconds in between the pictures, you couldn't see what was going on. It was very difficult to watch the footage because I knew what had happened there. It was very difficult to see that happen to your friend and to a coworker.
Very difficult to listen to. The image of him choking on his own blood with a gunshot into his face is the image that burns in my head that will never go away.
Every time I saw Martin in his uniform, it made me smile because he was just so handsome in it. And you could see how proud he was to wear it. He loved being a police officer.
Hello?
On December 27th,
Hey, sweetie.
he called and said, look, I think I'm going to go ahead and work tonight because my nephew is here and I want to take him on a ride along. Martin's nephew was 12 at the time. Martin knew that there were a lot of temptations for kids, especially those entering their teen years. And he just wanted to make sure that his nephew was clear about what was right and what was wrong. And that was exactly what he said to me. And he said, I just wanted to give you a call and tell you that I love you. I'll give you a call a little later. And that was the last time that I spoke with Martin.
Even though it's been 26 years, the anxiety is still there. The thoughts are still there. Sometimes the nightmares are still there. In 1993, I had been on for just over a year with Manhattan Beach Police Department, and I was working as a patrol officer. Martin, at the time, was really my mentor at everything that he did in life as a person and as a police officer. On December 27th, I went out to patrol the city. And all of a sudden, some screaming started to come over the radio. I didn't understand that at the time. All I heard was screaming on the radio. Very difficult to listen to, but it brings back other emotions. More emotions of anger than sadness, because I know what the rest of what occurs after that. Because I was only a block and a half away, I turned on my lights and sirens and started heading directly for the mall. When I pulled into the mall, I didn't know what I was going to find. It was dark, but the red and blue lights caught the corner of my right eye. And I looked to my right and I saw a police car with its overhead lights on. I could see that it was Martin's car and he was laying down behind his car. Like, oh my God, what has happened? I ran up to him. He was laying face down in a pool of blood.
I got an officer down. I repeat, an officer down.
Basically unable to breathe because he was just sucking in blood. It was very hard to believe what I was seeing. I turned Martin over and his face was unrecognizable. He had a bullet hole in his cheek. I had no idea at that point whether Martin would live or die. I knew it was bad. To see Martin in that situation, it was something that I'd never thought I would see in my life. The pain that I saw, that's the hardest part to talk about, to describe. I wish I would have told him that I was there for him, because I don't know if he knew if anybody was there for him. I just only hope he felt me holding him, but I don't know. I looked over and saw Martin's nephew uncontrollably screaming. He would look at his uncle and just scream. I was looking at Martin and seeing him dying, and looking up and seeing his nephew screaming and needing help. The police officer inside of me was completely torn, and that's when I had to physically pull Martin's nephew to the side to get him away from the image of what he was seeing.
I was at home asleep when the phone rang a little after 11 o'clock on December 27th. It was one of our civilian employees calling me and told me that there had been a shooting and that Martin Ganz had been shot. So my question to him was, is he okay? And he says, it doesn't look too good. Martin and I were friends, and my heart kind of sunk down. I was just praying that he would survive the shooting. But then, I got to focus in on what do I have to do to go find that guy that did this. As a detective sergeant, it was my responsibility to go to the scene to start the investigation. And so I quickly got dressed and I went out to the scene at the Manhattan Village Mall. When I pulled up to the scene of the shooting, Martin had already been transported to the hospital. I walked around to look at whatever physical evidence may have been there. I saw 3 shell casings on the ground between the front and the back of Martin's police car, and then I saw a pool of blood on the back behind his car on the ground where Martin had fallen. It was a very distressing moment to see the amount of blood that was on the ground, because I knew how bad my friend had been hurt. Just had to get to work and focus in on what had to be done in order to get this investigation underway. And we didn't have a suspect. In my opinion, if somebody's going to shoot a police officer that's in his full uniform, they're going to take a civilian and shoot them without a second thought as well.
As we started taping off the crime scene, I was really still in shock. One of my sergeants came over to me and he said, Martin's dead. It was just absolute grief. The image of him choking on his own blood with a gunshot into his face is the image that burns in my head that will never go away. That just made an unrealistic scenario to a 23-year-old officer with not much life or patrol experience. It really stunned me. That's when it hit me that things were never going to be the same for me.
It was a little after 1 o'clock in the morning. My phone rang. When I answered it, I was shocked by the sound of Martin's younger sister screaming, Martin's been shot in the face. He's dead. I can hear the panic in her voice. Beyond panic, it was terror. And no matter what, I will always be able to hear that. Right now, it brings back that gut-wrenching feeling in the pit of my stomach when you know that your life is about to change drastically and is not going to be the same ever again. I kept insisting, please, please take me to the hospital. I need to be with him. This officer literally put his hands on my shoulders and gently pushed me onto a chair and then got down on his knees so that he was looking me in the eyes and said, Pam, he's not Martin anymore. Now he's evidence. I just kept thinking that if it had been me, he would have done anything possible to be there for me. And that was what I had in my head, that we promised each other we would never let the other one be alone. We committed ourselves to each other, and I was not being allowed to fulfill my end of that commitment. At that time, I not only felt helpless, I felt vulnerable. I felt deflated. I felt incomplete. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to, because the one person that I would have looked to and turned to wasn't there for me anymore. This was someone whose hand that I held, whose face that I touched, whose eyes that I looked into, and that I had every intention of taking care of forever. And now suddenly, he was gone. There were emotions going through me that I could not come to grips with because I had never felt them before. Even to this day, it's difficult for me to think about. There's something there that I wished I had been able to just say goodbye to him.
On the next morning, myself and the other detectives went to start interviewing eyewitnesses and to try to develop a profile of who the suspect was so that we could do what we could to track him down.
Listen, you got to tell me everything you saw.
As a result of what happened that night, Martin's nephew was very afraid that the suspect was going to track him down and kill him as well for being a witness to what occurred that night.
What if he finds me?
He is not going to find you. I promise.
He was very cautious about talking about some of it because of his fears, but we were able to get the answers to the questions that we had. Martin's nephew had described to us that Martin had approached the car and then he was talking to the driver of the car for a period of time, maybe a minute or two, when the guy had reached over and then shot Martin. He ducked under the dash of the car to try to get away, and he heard 2 more gunshots go off, and he heard Martin fall to the ground. He peeked back up to see what was happening, and then he saw that the suspect had a shooting stance and was pointing his gun at him. So he ducked back down underneath of the dash of the car, and then he heard the suspect get back in the car and drive off. And at that time is when he grabbed the radio to call for help. The sheriff's department had a forensic artist come down and create a sketch of the suspect. The nephew of Martin Gans did a good job of describing to the forensic artist what he saw that allowed her to create this sketch. We just knew it was a male Asian, probably in his mid-20s, with short, dark hair. So that gave us an idea what the guy looked like. The next morning, we reached out to the banks that were along Sepulveda Boulevard to see if they had any video at their ATMs. And we found that they did have ATM cameras that were working. This is a photograph from one of the ATM machines at the drive-thru at the bank where Martin Gans was shot and killed. Although it shows a picture of the car, shows a picture of Martin on the ground, it did not show a picture of the suspect approaching him or shooting him. The ATM cameras only took 1 picture every 14 seconds. So the 14 seconds in between the pictures, you couldn't see what was going on. It was very difficult to watch the footage from the ATM cameras because I knew what had happened there. In reviewing the video footage from the ATM machines, it only took pictures of the back quarter panel of the suspect's car from one angle. And then as they were driving up, it took photos of the front of the car as it was approaching where it eventually stopped. So we didn't have a picture of the entire car. We didn't really get an image of the suspect himself. It was very challenging, to say the least. It was almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack and not even knowing what the needle looked like to find it.
I think that I was numb at that point. I didn't think that I had any more tears left in me. I had no idea what I was going to see. His car was gone at that point, and there was no police tape up. And it was just a parking lot again. There was a spot on the ground, and I just immediately envisioned Martin lying there, helpless. And that was really when I came unglued. I remember I basically fell to my knees, and seeing what I believed to have been blood on the ground just made it very real. Oh my gosh, he really did get shot, and he really did lose blood, and he really is gone. I just felt his loss became very real to me. Martin and I had been engaged for 18 days when he was killed. Here I am in a church, and instead of celebrating my wedding day in a church with him, instead I'm looking at his flag-draped casket and not understanding how it could possibly be that I will never see him again. When it was just me standing next to his casket, holding a rose, it felt like that night, just a couple of weeks earlier when he proposed to me. And even though there were all kinds of people in the room, it was just he and I.
Martin Gans is the first Manhattan Beach officer to be killed in the line of duty. His fellow officers saluted their fallen brother with tears in their eyes.
Helicopters flew over the ceremony in formation.
But perhaps the most emotional moment was when they handed Gans's hat to his nephew. Children were always special to the fallen officer.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. Takes me back to 1993. Being sad, crying that day, crying now, and getting angry again. I wish it never had happened. I experienced a whole range of emotions because I wasn't showing my emotions at work. They were coming out at home. At the time, I was a 23-year-old cop who, in those days, you're told to suck it up and move on. Nobody ever physically told me that, but that's just the way it was then. And I went to see the psychologist. I basically blew the person off, thinking, you're not a cop. You don't understand what I just went through. Why am I wasting my time with you? Which would end up being the biggest mistake of my life. What I needed was somebody to talk to. But what I was doing was going out and drinking with those of us that were there that night. We were all trying to escape our thoughts. All of us had anger in this person that killed our friend. All of us had sadness that he's gone. All of us wanted revenge. We would take that piece of paper and we would rubber band it to the sunshade over our head in the driver's seat of the police car. So as we drove around during our shift, we could easily look up and see who we were searching for. The adrenaline rush was scary, and images started flashing back in my head of Martin on the ground bleeding to death. And so there was adrenaline, there was anger, there was fear. Is this him? Is this the killer? I wanted to find this person.
According to eyewitnesses, the suspect was an Asian male in his late 20s. This sketch has been distributed to law enforcement agencies across the state.
You know, certainly a crime like this, of having a police officer killed in Manhattan Beach, was a really big deal. And the public wanted to help solve this case probably as much as we did. That was demonstrated by, the calls that we got to the police station. And I don't recall how many we get every day, but we ended up with over 2,000 tips during the course of the investigation. We had to go chase those people down and figure out, did they do it or not? It was overwhelming to try to follow up lead after lead, and not knowing every time you're following up with somebody, you're potentially going to go contact a cop killer. My preliminary thought was that somebody, the very first time they commit a crime, is not going to shoot and kill a police officer. The first thing that you would look to would be for violent felons. People have shown a propensity to violence in the past. There was about 4 or 5 people that we set off to the side to look at in further depth. One of the tips received on the tip line was about a guy named Roger Brady, and they described him as being an Asian male in his mid-20s with a resemblance to the composite. And our investigation showed that he had a prior record of doing bank robberies. So we assigned a couple of investigators to investigate that particular clue. And they went up and eventually did some surveillance of him, followed him around for a little while. Roger Brady resembled the composite description, and he had a Daihatsu Charade. There was a lot of things that lined up to say that he's the right guy. This could be the guy that shot and killed Martin Ganz.
What exactly are you looking for?
So the police department went over there and put up a surveillance on Roger Brady's house and ended up talking to him and doing a search of his house.
Mr. Brady, where exactly were you at 11 p.m. on the night of December 27th?
He did allow them to search his bedroom and his common areas.
Just here watching TV.
Didn't see anything out of the ordinary as far as his behavior was concerned, and investigators could not come up with any conclusive evidence one way or the other to either implicate him or to exonerate him. It's very difficult because when you're interviewing a young person, you have to be careful on how you ask questions, because Martin's nephew was still quite concerned that the killer was going to track him down because he was a witness. And that's a real concern of his that he had. And he was quite frightened as a result of it.
Listen, I'm going to show you a few photos. I want you to let me know if any of these guys look like the guy you saw that night. Okay?
Unfortunately, at that meeting, we were not able to get a definitive identification of Roger Brady. It's pretty frustrating not to have some solid leads to look at and to know where you're going as far as down your investigative path. And you look back and go, is there something we missed?
I was frustrated by that point that we hadn't found this person yet, and that I was afraid someone else would be killed by this monster. On a personal level, I just wanted him caught either way, dead or alive. I felt that when the time came, no matter how it went down, I knew it was going to be violent. For a man to point blank shoot a police officer and then execute him, to me was somebody that was not going to be easy to arrest. This person was going to go down in flames.
Why did you use the word execute?
Because Martin was executed. He tried to flee for cover, but the suspect followed him, stood over Martin, and executed him at point-blank range. As a friend of Martin and as a police officer, it makes me feel angry.
This picture was taken after we had been dating maybe about 3 months. And I mean, we were both just so happy. And there are some photos, and most of the memories are just tucked away in my heart. When Martin first walked into my life, he came into my work and we started talking, and there was just something about him. I didn't know exactly what it was, but there was just something about him, and I knew that I never wanted to forget his name. So after he left, I wrote his name down on a small Post-it, and I put that Post-it in my drawer, and I still have it. And I always will. I'll never get rid of that. I will always keep that.
You just sit back and reflect on what happened and start thinking about, what have we maybe missed? So those are kind of difficult reflection moments at the time to look back and say, how come we haven't found this guy yet?
Detective Leaf.
The suspect, an Asian man wearing a ski mask, pulled a gun and forced the employee to hand over his cash.
He had a Daihatsu Charade. He had a .380 pistol that was recovered, and he was an Asian guy in his 20s.
He then shot a woman who had just purchased some milk on the way home for her daughter.
There was a lot of indicators that he may be our suspect.
Going through the murder of someone, you face things that you don't understand. And for me, I didn't have it in me to understand that someone could actually do this to anyone, let alone someone like Martin, who was simply larger than life. There are still some things that I never got back after that night. My sense of, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and everything is going to look the same way that it does today. I don't have that anymore, because I know now that very clearly tomorrow is not a given, and that your life can change just like that.
We got a phone call that Roger Brady had been arrested up there for a supermarket robbery where he had shot and killed somebody with a .380 pistol. We went up to Oregon to follow up on our investigation, brought our forensics firearms expert up with us to test the gun that was recovered up there. Those shell casings from that gun definitively matched the shell casings that were at our murder site. The gun that Roger Brady got arrested with was the gun that had killed Martin Gans. It was pretty clear that we finally had our killer. Knowing that we had investigated Roger Brady back before he committed his other crime up in Oregon was a bit frustrating for everybody involved, including the investigators that talked to him the first time, because there just wasn't enough indicators there to make an arrest. It was a relief that we had found him finally, but it was also a very tragic way of it occurring. It was very heartbreaking that he had continued on his crime spree, and he had killed one person and tried to kill another person before he was brought to justice on our case.
I'd rather not look at this photo. There's nothing good to say about it. That's just an empty soul that knows no knows no love, knows no feelings. It's not a picture I want to see. My impressions of Brady is just an empty, cold-hearted killer. That's it. I don't know who he is. I don't want to know who he is. I think about Martin often when I look at my sons, and I think, what would Martin do in this situation? Because he would have been a far better dad than I could ever be. I really wish I could have seen him as a father. When they say the good die young, that is 100% true with Martin. Martin had a heart of gold, and he showed me what I wanted to be as a person.
I think that my lowest point was the day after the first anniversary. People kept telling me that just let a year go by. Just after a year, it'll be different. So on December the 28th, 1994, when I woke up and I didn't feel any different than I did the day before, that was really hard for me. I didn't feel better. I still hurt. I was still alone. Martin was still gone, and it was still very hard. What if Martin hadn't been killed? What if we had gotten married? Would we have 3 kids? What would they look like? Of course I think about those things. But what I don't do is dwell on those things. Because I also believe that all roads lead to where I am right now. And I am who I am today in large part because what I went through during that time.
It all started as a routine traffic stop late last night.
Through the years, my feelings of being in that parking lot have morphed into something different. At first, it was a bit difficult because I knew that he spent his last living moments there. Now it's almost cathartic for me because I know that he was there. There are several memorials to Martin throughout the city of Manhattan Beach. There is one specifically at the location where it happened, and that's the one that every year at 11:05 on December 27th, every year since it's happened, I'm there just because I feel that that's where I need to be. This last year, there were probably 70 police officers that showed up to show support for Martin's memory. And I remember looking out at the crowd of officers and thinking, some of these officers were not even born in 1993. And yet here they are. And my focus then became, I need to completely educate these people on Martin, who he was, what he stood for, and how he lived, which was just as important, if not more, than how he died. And so that's my focus now.
I never had anyone be good to me. And this guy was seriously like someone that I was like, I could see him and I with the picket fence. He told me that his wife had left him. I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. I mean, he lied to me. Everything was a lie, you know what I mean, from probably day one. I wish I never met him. I really wish I didn't.
There was a blood curdling scream like you've never heard before. When I walked in, my mom was holding my baby And she was crying hysterically. And she was like, my baby is gone. My baby is gone. And that's something I'll never forget.
Just the horrible things he did to her. When you hear that and that she was alone and being brutalized, I wish there were things I could say to her that I won't get that chance to now.
I saw him die, and it gave me no great pleasure, but it ended it for me. It made me feel like what I did for Tricia Stemple was the best I could do. I spent 30 years sitting across from some of the most evil people ever. There's a special place in hell for this guy.
I would ask that you wait a little longer to move on. He also said, please don't give up on me till ... And remember, I love you and will be with you again. Please send me pictures. Let me dream about you. I just haven't read them since he sent them to me because it's my past, so. In the beginning, I met him through drive-thru when I worked at a fast food restaurant. Just talked, flirted, and every time he came in, I was always like right there to help him.
Hey.
And then I'd get all excited. I looked at him and said, you know, he had his stuff together. He was older, and he just had a lot of potential. He had a lot of things that I was looking for.
You look good in your uniform.
I wanted somebody that was crazy about me because I had not had that even, you know, through high school relationships to anything like that. I'm just looking for love, I guess, someone that would love me more than any man had ever loved me. I never had anyone be good to me. And this guy was seriously like someone that I was like, I could see him and I with the picket fence, the nice home, nice cars, a dog, and of course kids, because I definitely wanted, you know, to have a child with him, just to live a normal life. Being young, I guess I was just thinking that we were going to get married or something like that, you know. He told me that he had kids. He had said that, you know, his wife had left him. I thought she was awful for leaving. What kind of wife does that? It's messed up that she left her kids with Sean, and Sean was having to care for them. And so I was like, you know, I could be better than that. The I love you came quickly. And then after that, it was like I was in love with him. I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life.
This is Tricia holding my oldest daughter, Nadia. That was the last picture I took of her. And it was all because she was giving her first birthday party. Because she was an amazing sister like that. So there's 4 of us girls, and Tricia was the second oldest. Tricia was my favorite sister. And I think they all would say that Tricia was their favorite sister too. She was always looking out for me, and she was always making sure that I was okay no matter where I was. She always prayed for me. She was just the best sister ever. My mom had gotten a phone call that Tricia had gone missing and that we should be praying that she would be returned safely. We turn to God and we pray and we ask him to help us in any situation that we're going through. So, you know, we all got on separate phones and I was talking with somebody and praying with them. My mom was in the other room holding my daughter, and she got the call and she screamed. It was a blood-curdling scream like you've never heard before. When I walked in, my mom was holding my baby, and she was crying hysterically. And she was like, my baby is gone. My baby is gone. And that's something I'll never forget.
I was getting ready to go to work, and the dispatcher called me and said that had a fatality out at Highway 75, which is a very busy inbound traffic flow coming to downtown Tulsa. So that got my attention right there. I didn't know what happened to Tricia Stemple. I mean, she's laying on the side of the road. Maybe a truck hit her. Maybe it was a drunk driver. Well, initially, the uniformed officers were directed to her car, sitting on the side of the road. Had a flat, I believe, driver's side front tire. So that opens up possibilities there. Maybe this was an auto pedestrian wreck or something of that nature. So we just had to cover all the bases. Of course, it was real to me. It was very real. You know, you soak that death in, and that's, to me, that's fuel for motivation to do this. Well, at that time, we really didn't have much of a victim profile other than she was a young housewife that had been reported missing sometime overnight by her husband. And so we really arrived with a blank sheet of paper. Sean was pulled up on the road, and I knew that he had to be handled with kid gloves because he was the guy that would have all the answers. Sean laid out a very simple story that she had gone out to go to the pharmacy to get some medicine, wasn't feeling well. It was 2 or 3 in the morning. She didn't come back. He reports her missing. Yeah, after he filed a missing persons report, then he goes back out and found her car. By this time in my career, I've been to scores of homicide scenes. And this was the appropriate time for him to break down and fall to the ground and cry. And, you know, that was something that he lacked. He appeared concerned, but he lacked the emotion that I was expecting from him. So that kind of raised my tentacles.
I think Tricia was 16 or 17 when they met. I knew that Sean's family had moved here from Ohio, and I knew that his dad was in the ministry. She really liked him a lot, and we all did. We all liked Sean. He seemed like he was good for her. The first time I met Sean, I remember she was just crazy about this guy. She'd had boyfriends before, but it always seemed like they were more involved in the relationship than she was. And Sean seemed like he was the first one where she was really invested in this relationship. I honestly don't know what it was about Sean that Tricia was so attracted to, but she was pretty head over heels for him. But she definitely did love Sean. Tricia did get pregnant. And so I know she had gone to my parents and told them, and then said that she wanted to get married. Her and Sean both wanted to go ahead and get married and raise a family. Their marriage always seemed steady. They seemed to be pretty good, at least in the beginning.
So the medical examiner was able to tell us that, hey, this wasn't a drunk driver that veered off the road and hit this woman, because she didn't have injuries that are consistent with a traffic accident. Usually you see where the front of a car or a bumper strikes somebody on their lower extremities, and she didn't have that. She had been beaten, multiple strikes to the back of her head and neck. That was indicative of we're getting a different picture of where this is going. We expanded the crime scene search to find out what pieces of evidence might be relevant. It was like any side of the road. There were discarded trash items, maybe a beer can here and there, or a cigarette butt that you don't know what that means or doesn't mean. But we did find a weapon. We found a baseball bat with this plastic covering on it. You know, years ago, I investigated a murder of a young guy at a convenience store in Tulsa, and I actually heard the recording of him getting beat to death with a baseball bat. And that stuck with me about Trisha, because the minute I heard that she had so many strikes with the baseball bat, it just stayed with me all these years, because I know what it sounds like to be killed by a baseball bat. I know that because I heard it before. I've worked decades doing this kind of stuff. I've worked hard to push these memories to the back of my mind. The last couple of days that I've been rereading a lot of this case, and it's bothered me.
What we were told was that it was a hit and run accident. And then finding out that there was more to the story than that. I heard a lot. We had no idea who did this. He had times when he was stoic, and then he had times when he was erratic. There was a night that I couldn't sleep, so I got up and I came and I found my mom, and as her and I were talking, we thought he was in the bedroom. We thought he was asleep, and he came walking through the front door. So he was just like, "What are you guys doing up?" And we probably had tears coming down our face, so we were talking and crying and, talking about Trisha, and he seemed bothered by that.
Come sit.
I'm headed back out.
The whole time that we were there, we were trying to comfort him, and he kept trying to leave the house, kept saying he had to go somewhere, he had people to see, and we never knew where he was going. My parents pulled me aside and let me know that they were looking at Sean as a suspect. And my heart dropped at that moment, because I didn't want them to arrest him, because I didn't want it to be him. I still saw him as the fun-loving brother-in-law at that moment.
As time went on, I started having more and more feelings for him, because I felt like he needed me. He needed a good wife. In my mind, I had this, this perfect life in my head of like how I was going to be as a wife and how I wanted to treat my husband.
Things are picking up.
I've been thinking I don't like you living here.
He didn't like where I lived, and so he was talking to me about possibly moving. I said, okay, but I can't afford that. So he was like, okay, how about this? I'll give you $1,000 and you can spend it whichever way you want.
Really?
And then it was pretty much him and I's apartment at that time. He was there all the time. I'd come home from work.
Sean?
He would have literally so many candles in the house. He would have a bath waiting for me with a whole bunch of candles around it too, like a bubble bath. And he would just sit there and talk to me and like wash my back. Just a good guy. I mean, that's what I saw. I remember when I found out I was pregnant, I did tell him, he said that we would have a child after they got a divorce, that, he wanted to get a divorce first. So I had to have an abortion because of that. And he said it'll be okay because we'll have a child together. So I just lived with that, that we would have a baby because he was everything I wanted. I wanted him as my child's dad. I just thought that he was going to divorce her like he said he was going to. And I was just waiting and waiting patiently. I wish I never met him. I really wish I didn't.
Oh, I thought they had the wrong person. I really did. I didn't want it to be Sean. Not once did I want it to be Sean. None of us did. And that was something very hard to live with.
My gut really didn't feel good about Sean, but I don't ever like to really totally trust my gut feelings because you'll always be surprised. Terry Hunt was just a little low-life street thug. I don't know if that was just us having a different picture in our mind as to who might have done this. Terry was just a little dumb teenage guy, but we underestimated what he was capable of. And he had his own brand of evil himself. He wasn't talkative. We just waited for his version of the truth. It was a little bit, then a little bit more, then a little bit more. But he eventually did talk about Sean. Jerry tells us Sean had offered him somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000 if he would help kill Sean's wife. But they had been plotting this for a couple weeks. They had actually gone to that stretch of road out on Highway 75 on October 10th, I believe it was. And Sean was supposed to bring his wife out there, and they were going to attack her and kill her. Sean drove up at that date and said his wife was sick. It wasn't going to happen that night. And so it got put off till October 24th. So they all had 14 days to not go through with this plan, or 14 days to alert the police that, hey, this dude wants me to kill his wife. They didn't. And so October 24th, they were hiding in the bushes, the tall grass on the side of the road. Tricia and Sean drive up in the same car. And Tricia is not unconscious like maybe they expected her to be. And then Sean beat her several times with the baseball bat himself. Coasted to the side of the road and popped the hood. And Sean and Tricia got out of the car to look at what the problem is. And at that time, Terry Hunt came out of the tall grass. You know, Terry had a story that kind of fit with the big puzzle. And, we're working this thing, trying to figure out where Sean, how he intersects with She crawled away a little bit, and she's up on her elbows, and Sean bends down and tells her it's going to be okay. The ambulance is on the way. And they had this kind of crazy affair.
Sean and I were talking about, just getting high. So I was like, well, I knew that my cousin had some and that he was selling. And so that could be a place that we could go to get marijuana. We went over there a number of times.
Finishing her off and telling her, it's okay, honey, the ambulance is on its way. Bang, bang, bang. He ran up behind Trisha and hit her in the head multiple times, and she went down to the ground. I believe at that time, Sean came over. And then he strikes her several more times. And her husband, did his best. He was a cousin of Danny Wood, a young girl that Sean Stemple was having an affair with. She worked at a nearby fast food restaurant, and Sean would go visit her at work on her breaks and whatever. And
to relax after work. And so what they did on their time, I had no idea. I mean, he lied to me. Everything was a lie, from probably day one. Honestly. He just manipulated me on a day-to-day basis, and I didn't even know it.
I remember learning that they weren't making house payments, they weren't making car payments, and then you find out, but they were making the life insurance payments because that was up to date. And apparently that was what was important to him. And he would get just under $1 million.
And he enlisted Terry and convinced Terry to do this. I knew that I had to get him to the police station to tell his side of the story. Let's turn on a tape recorder, and I want to get your words. I don't want to miss a thing. With Terry and what Terry knows about Sean.
I feel as though I should have an attorney because of how ugly this looks on me. And my fear is, and again, you guys are doing your jobs. I don't care if I'm doing, I don't care if I'm upset. I respect what you're doing, but I understand that you gotta solve this and you gotta go hungry. And I know how bad it looks on me. So my fear is that you guys are here, not on the witch hunt by saying that, but that you're here to prove I did it, not to make sense. But because we have a large insurance policy, and because I was having an affair, motive, whatever, I'm gonna get an attorney. So what do I do?
$1 million to then live his life. It's like we were learning about a whole new person that we didn't know. This was not the same Sean that I remember.
We knew the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is going to be Sean. He's the only one that had the motive to kill her. I mean, $1 million policy is kind of hefty. I mean, he had his kids sit in a dark house without air conditioning but it was really no help. He didn't want to engage in a conversation. He just wanted to act like he was helping, but he really wasn't.
That whole situation, there we go.
You know, he made a comment early on that he didn't want to screw himself. And so, you know what? That made us think, who is this guy thinking the most about? Himself. He is sorry that he got caught. He's not sorry that his wife is dead. I have sat in the room with guys that have killed
The
her.
right to remain silent. The only thing you say couldn't would be used against you in court of law if you're charged.
Okay. I want to help. I don't want to screw myself and my kids. Does that make sense?
Sean was guarded in his story. I mean, he wanted to appear like he was helping.
So from Sean's standpoint, I'm going, oh my God, I'm dead. Okay. So when you start asking me these questions, I don't know if I'm going to answer anything or not answer anything. My dad says, don't say a word. My mother and father-in-law said, don't say anything, just get an attorney. I don't know what the right thing to do.
It's not your prerogative, like I say you have.
Their wives. They may not be sorry their wife's dead, but they are sorry that their life is going to change too. Sean didn't. He still made the payment for the insurance policy on his wife when his power was cut off. He's driving up to see Danny maybe a couple times a day for some sort of sexual pleasure. The guy is using everybody and everything, and it's all about Sean. Sean was committed to kill his wife.
And say that you would kill her. And I said, or run her over or something. And I said, I did. It was just something like, I'm going to get a divorce from her, but I'm trying to get the kids. I was just like, well, I'll just kill her or something to that effect. Not that I would like literally kill her. And then he was like, you know, just, it was nothing because I didn't think anything of it at that point. People say it all the time. God, I want to kill that person. People can't say it in front of me. I correct them. I was like, don't ever say that because he just kept lying to me and just saying like they were getting a divorce. And of course he didn't. I can't believe that, you know, someone could lie to you so much. They did ask me, they would ask me if I wanted, you know, water or whatever. But I just wanted it to be over. I was just very scared.
How long have you and Sean Stemple been seeing each other?
They asked me questions about Sean, how long we've been together. They asked me to throw up. I mean, like, it was an unreal feeling. I couldn't believe what had happened. One of the things that I thought was, you know, those poor he lied to me and he told me things that, you know, trying to manipulate me to be with him. What, I'm a stepmom now? I mean, like, it was an unreal feeling. I was a zombie. I was very scared in the room by myself. And when they came back, you don't know if somebody died today, that you're not going to be in the same situation I was in. Innocent people go to prison all the time. And I didn't want to be that innocent person.
You look at the far-reaching effects of this, you know, Stemple had 2 kids. They had a great mother. He tore that away from them. He ruined their lives. He tore Trisha away from her sisters and her family. You hear that and you want to go home and...
Babies, those poor kids, them losing their mom, and then being young and wanting kids and stuff. Like, my feeling was, I mean,
so any of that, you had no remorse.
Hi. Sean said that someone had hit her, ran her over on the highway. He said he's not really sure what had happened. I almost fainted. Felt like I was going to
hug your kids and tell them how much they mean to you. Over time, though, it's just hard to come to grips with it. I always felt like that Danny might be a little bit more than just somebody that was manipulated and taken advantage of. But I definitely can.
The trial was very difficult because that's where you found out just the horrible things he did to her and continuous. And, you know, hitting her on the head and telling her, the police are coming, I've called the police. When you hear that and you just, that she was alone.
See Sean manipulating and using Danny. I mean, he was that kind of guy. We didn't have the specific evidence to charge her.
It just makes you sick. It just does. It just makes you sick. You spend a lot of time playing the what if game. A lot of times of the I wish I had. I wish there were things I could say to her.
Did I know he was married? Yes. He said he was going to leave her. That was what he always said to me. And that he just needed to get a divorce, but he wanted custody of the kids.
And being brutalized, and I so wish you could have been there to have stopped it. I think for me, you almost go to another place. You almost go numb when you start hearing these.
I mean, there's just some questions that go unanswered in any investigation.
They say, you can't touch him. And I said, okay. So they brought him. It was just me and him and them, the police officers. And when he got before me, I said, why would you do this? And he had no words for me. He didn't say anything. He just kind of looked down.
Things because it's so hard to hear. And you don't want to think about, you just try to not go there. Because you don't.
He was like, hitting her was so hard. And he said I couldn't do it. He said that just the feeling of the bat hitting her in the head, that he stopped. And he said, Sean, I can't do it. He said, you have to do it. You have to do it, because if you don't do it, then...
Came down to it, I did decide to attend, and I did that not out of a morbid sense or anything, but just that I wanted Trisha to be remembered. So many times at executions, it's all focused on the one getting executed. I want to think about what she went through and how horrible that must have been to have been by herself and gone through this. Physically,
it's still not easy, and it's something that I still live with.
And the victim tends to get forgotten and left out. And so they tend to focus on him. And I just want that I won't get that chance to now.
During the trial, there were some police officers that said, can we do anything for you? And I said, yeah, give me an audience with Sean. And I said, I want to say something to him. And he had his eyes closed the whole time. And they asked him, is there any last words? And his last word was no. I have my good days and my bad days. I have moments where it's hard to get out of bed. I just want to cry. And
I remember when he was given the death penalty, there was a lot of confliction. Am I going to go? When it came,
doesn't want to believe. When they hit her and with the baseball bat, and then he said, but Danny, I couldn't do it no more. I'm going to kill Danny. And so he did it. He was in bed with me. He touched me. He loved me. And
Never gonna have to think about him again. I saw him die, and it gave me no great pleasure, but it it ended it for me. It made me feel like what I did for Tricia Stemple was the best I could do. And
to be a presence there, to know she was dearly loved and she was dearly missed. It's not something I would ever want to go through again.
We all sat behind this glass and he came in.
I went to see my cousin, Terry, in prison, and I couldn't stop crying, of course, but I said I need to close this chapter of my life. And I need to know what happened. He told me what happened, too.
Every day, knowing what he did, and finally coming to grips that he was the one that did this is hard, because part of me still doesn't.
It really was. I told her this is what happened if she didn't keep her promises to me. I think she was killed by somebody that was known to her. It's intriguing. It's a challenge. It's a mystery.
Before she died, she had to know she was running for her life.
It's driving me crazy trying to figure out what took place. It's horrible. It's really horrible, and especially if you don't know why.
I bet Kay Wendell never told anyone what she...
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, as they are in New York City or wherever, when you hit that level of evil, it'll stand up anywhere. And I've sat there and I have been in their airspace, and there's a special place in hell for this guy.
Quite a brutal scene, but I can't get into the details of exactly what occurred.
I believe it was the police department that had told me the way that Kay was murdered, that they had slit her.
And, like, how can you kill somebody and then be so kind too, So I never understood. Those questions always went through my head like, that could have been me. Everything was destroyed. And I really felt like that was my soulmate. And I felt like I never could find anyone else.
I was ready
for throat, not only once, but twice. And to hear something like that, after just knowing that you don't have your sister, but what the horror that she went through.
That's why we keep going back to it.
Somebody is responsible for this, then they need to be held accountable. I have an idea or a suspect in mind, but I'm afraid for my life. I mean, if Kay can be killed, anybody can be killed. There are
It is.
I'm not ashamed. I spent 30 years sitting across from some of the most evil people ever. And they're just as evil for this guy to get the death penalty. And I wanted to make sure that I witnessed it. I needed to witness that. I needed to know that I was...
Things about this case I don't feel comfortable saying on camera.
This was my last trip to Atlanta when I saw Kay for the very last time. Who would have ever known this would be the last day? I'm grateful for that time I had with her and with Hal too. Oh, Hal was very, very kind. He wanted to surprise Kay for her 60th birthday. So he sent me a first-class ticket out to surprise her. We got to the house and Hal calls Kay and says, I have your present here now. I feel like you're really there hearing all this stuff. And I just screamed and walked out of the room. Not Kay. Kay's the person that could defend herself. Kay's a person that took care of everybody else. And we don't have her anymore. And that'll destroy you. Absolutely destroy your life. Tammy, it's a homicide. And I was just, what do you mean it's a homicide? Somebody killed her? Yes. It's like being in a cloud or something. You don't really realize what you're doing, what you're saying, where you're going.
Property and develop shopping centers. She didn't put herself in any kind of situation that would bring violence to her. that right away will grab you. May 1st, 2008, we get a call to the Wennell residence. Hal comes home from work, meeting, and we go over the case. And in this particular case, we built kind of a task force. And we're trying to figure out what the happened. When you look at the case files, what sticks out is that Kay was not your typical victim. Kay was, just leading a normal housewife life.
Now, it took me a while to get it into the house. I'm sitting in the living room. And I'll never forget Kay coming in the door in this little short black dress. She looked up and went, oh, it meant more to me than anything in the whole wide world. Because you don't think you're going to leave there and not see her again. But that's what happened. Just 15 years now, and we still don't know. But I want to know so bad. I just want to know why and who would do that to Kay.
After the murder and after the initial response, we were brought into it.
Mammy, I said, happy birthday, Kay. Your husband did this for you. And oh my gosh, we just cried and hugged, and it was so exciting. Kay was so happy.
She's married, living in a middle-class neighborhood. Her husband was Hal Wennell. For the best I can explain it, he would discovers Kay in the kitchen floor. So emotional that he can't talk, he gets a neighbor to finish the 911 call. We bring everybody out of the house. We secure the crime scene. We find Kay on the kitchen floor, a significant amount of blood. She bled out because her throat was cut. It seemed like whoever killed her wanted to make sure.
On Thursday night, I got in the bed and I was watching TV, and the house phone rang. And it was Hal. And he says, Pammy, Kay is dead. Hal told me, he said, but nothing seemed wrong. Both of them seemed so happy with each other, happy with life. But then when I found out that was going to be the last time I ever saw my sister.
That she was dead. Because after the initial cut, there was a second cut. And it almost beheaded her, actually. It was so violent. I think the way she was killed tells me that he's either very angry and they had a personal relationship, or it's someone who's a professional and they knew what they were doing. From what we can tell from the initial scene is that Kay is reading a book in the little study area next to the front door, somewhere between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There is no forced entry, so we think Kay answered the door. Whether she knew who was at the door or not, we don't know, but we know she answered the door because she was hit right there. She was wearing glasses, reading glasses, so we can see those were broken near the front door. And she had an injury to her face, which suggests she was hit or punched. She had to have been terrified. And I'm sure the last few seconds, it was horrifying. I couldn't imagine going through there with somebody that she was trying to hide. But we don't have anything to suggest that we have a robbery. We don't have a sexual assault. What's the motive? The motive is just to kill her. There is no other motive besides killing her. So why go upstairs, right? I think not knowing what the reason to go upstairs was a missing link. I think if we had information on something that was taken or missing, then it would certainly help the investigation. It would give us a direction. So yes, it is. It's extremely frustrating. We did also find inside that locked cabinet things that Hal wasn't aware of. There was some, some lingerie that he was not aware of. So maybe she was having an affair. In the crime scene text, discover anybody who's been arrested for a felony, their DNA, they're going to be swabbed and their DNA is going to be put into this database that we can now compare to the DNA we got from our scene. When we don't get a hit in CODIS, we now have to start looking at, maybe it's not a professional. Your suspect pool is getting more complicated. Either it's a relationship or somebody in her life, a small piece of a latex glove, which we thought was just a piece of the fingertip of a glove. That was it. The glove is found at the front door where she's immediately struck, right? So I'm assuming that there's some struggle there and it gets torn or ripped. Now, important, absolutely, because it gives us our first good lead that someone came prepared. They're wearing gloves, right? They're coming here to do a specific act and they're trying to cover up that act. This is the towel that we found in the crime scene that was dabbed with blood, and then it was brought up and left upstairs on the second floor. On a locked file cabinet.
To Hal, they just both seemed very, very happy. Hal didn't talk to me about being a suspect, but I knew he was because that's just the norm. But just to know the way that he loved Kay, I just don't think he could do that to her.
Blood splat.
Probably around 5 years. Kay's third husband had asked her to go to the airport and pick up a business partner for him, and his business associate was
Quite a brutal scene, but I can't get into the details of exactly what occurred.
She could walk through a room and everybody would turn their head and look at her, watch her walk and sit down.
We didn't gather any evidence from the lingerie, no DNA, no name that we could associate it with. The blood on the towel belongs to Kay, and there's no blood belonging to anybody else or DNA that was extracted. We ultimately get a DNA profile from the tip of the glove. The GBI puts that profile into the federal CODIS system, which
down, and she loved that. She loved that attention. I think if you spoke to her, then her personality was beautiful also. She was gorgeous inside.
Of one of their shopping centers down in Stockbridge. Hal and Kay were all over each other. And if he wasn't touching her, she was touching him. You know, I remember saying, go get a room. You know, they were just constant.
Out. Kay met her third husband in Miami, and they moved to Las Vegas. And I think she was a bunny for
It all over the floor and some on the banister rails, and
the whole scene indicates that whoever did this is somebody that she knew. And it also looks very much like whoever did this came to the house with the intention of doing this.
no, inside a closet. So this is a photograph of the jewelry that we found in the lock cabinet, reportedly $1 million worth. Hal said that nothing was missing, so I can't imagine someone going in for a robbery and not taking $1 million worth of jewelry.
You know, another shopping center, and then another shopping center was the same way. He had many lawsuits against him. 2 of the lawsuits started before Kay's death. I never talked to Kay about the lawsuits, but I believe that she knew about them.
Whoever did this because one of 2 reasons.
Hal Whittle. Now, Hal was married. Kay was married. I didn't know about this affair until maybe a year into it. And then Kay calls me and says, I'm getting a divorce and I'm going to start over. Then the next thing I knew, Kay was getting married.
You knew it. He expected nothing but excellence from his employees and loyalty. Kay was tenant coordinator, leasing agent. Anybody could talk to her. She was not snooty. She's very personable, very nice. Yeah, she was a sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. I looked up to her. Perfect marriage, I thought. Successful business. I thought she had it all. July of 2007, I started realizing everything was not as it seemed. It was not kosher. Hal was getting ready to sell the shopping center to...
Investigators said Hal was doing everything he could to find out who killed Kay. And he even put up a reward, a significant reward. And I think he did it ultimately because he wanted to find out what happened to her. There was nothing in her past or his past that would suggest any motive for him to have her killed. I mean, there would be no, I didn't see an insurance policy. They were happily married from all accounts. They loved each other.
A group of businessmen. But Hal was paying his tenants rent so that it looked good on paper. He was essentially cheating. But it was soon after, or the shopping center sold, that the buyers found out about it. And then I had found out.
Worker or acquaintance, you know, somebody who had contact with her. It's intriguing. It's a challenge. It's a mystery. That's why we keep going back to it.
On Thursday, 60-year-old Eva Kay Wennell was found dead in her home by her husband.
It's very difficult right now. Having a very rough time. It's the hardest thing I've ever faced.
Is
a suspect twice. I'm 100% confident that this is the guy that went into the house that day. It's too much to believe in a homicide and coincidence like that. It would be too much of a coincidence to believe that he's not involved. I absolutely believe the man in the composite sketch is the one that was responsible for Kay's death.
I believe it was the police department that had told me the way that Kay was murdered.
They're very angry with her, or they're very angry with you. And
I can't figure anybody that
yeah, I mean,
I've been in this game for 40 years. Who the hell kills your wife? Not even the mafia does that. I mean, that's insanity.
We did find some, I'll call shady business dealings. It appeared that maybe Hal was borrowing from one person to pay the next person off. I was told of some people that he may have burned in the past.
Question. I don't think it was a random robbery or anything. That, you know, I'm only giving you my opinion. Somebody came there with the intent of, I don't know what.
The first time I met Hal and Kay was at a grand opening.
He happens to look out and he sees that same male approaching the Wennell house somewhere just after 1 o'clock. But he loses sight of that person as they walk up the driveway. So this is the sketch that our witness created from his memory of seeing our potential.
We very lovey-dovey to one another. I absolutely think that their love for one another was very genuine, very genuine. Hal was a pistol to work with. He was very demanding. He didn't yell very often, but when he was ticked off.
The horror that she went through before she died was just, I just can't imagine that kind of horror. She had to know she was running for her life.
The reason he's in there, and he tells him that he's looking to buy a house. He shows him a flyer for a house for sale, but it's in a neighborhood miles away. The next day, he's upstairs in a room, and
They had told me that, and it looked like she had turned around and started running through the house to get away from them. And they said that they didn't only cut her throat once, but they cut her throat twice. And to hear something like that.
Asked groups of real estate investors and such like that. From the initial investigation, we understand that Hal was at work all day. And we can confirm that because his coworkers. So we know that he's not a viable suspect for us at that point as far as physically doing it. But was she killed because of something Hal did? Or as retribution for something Hal did, as revenge? We start, as much as we can, digging into his finances, his business dealings, people maybe that he's had some fraud with over the years or cheated out of money. And we just couldn't find any solid link to the murder. It appeared to us as...
They told me to get clothes together for Kay for the funeral, for them to dress her. And I said, she's going to have something that's got a high neck on it because the cuts on her neck. So I went back to her closet, and there was that dress that she had on her birthday. Whoever thought that the day I surprised her for her birthday, I'd be burying her in that dress. And we took these things down to the funeral home. Well, she's laying on this table, covered up with a black piece of plastic. I looked at her on the table over there, and I thought, well, that's not my sister. That's not Kay. But nothing about her looked like Kay. She was white and
I just didn't see a motive. He says the day prior to the murder, he is out smoking a cigarette and he sees a male loitering around in the cul-de-sac, and he approaches him and asks him
like they had pinched her right eye out to me because her eyelid was sunken in. And I said, where's your restroom? He said, right over there. Went to the bathroom. I cried my eyes out after seeing Kay laying there like that. She was dead. She was truly, truly dead.
She was home the day that she was murdered. From what I've been told, she didn't feel good that day. I know she went by the office and brought Hal some lunch, and there was a client Hal had and a business associate. They were all there. There were a lot of men in suits. They were the detectives because nobody knew who killed her at that point. There were a couple of employees that were acting strangely, they were overly dramatic, which I found odd because behind Kay's back, these people didn't like her. But to her face,
I don't know. I just don't know. You know, I'm sure there's so many things that she didn't tell me. That sort of stuff just did not come out, and I just wished it would have. We'd know now.
When we received the letter, we thought that she had an affair with somebody. You can imagine somebody just sitting, fuming, sitting there meticulously cutting out letters and pasting them to a paper because they're so angry about whatever relationship.
Supposed to go out to dinner that night, but he never reached her. He kept calling and she didn't answer, and that was very unlike her. I don't think she would have opened the door to just anybody. That's just my personal opinion. I think she opened that door for somebody that she trusted. If she knew the person that she opened the door for, yes, I would have known that person too, maybe. A lot of people showed up to the funeral. Every
way, or it's actually from the killer. It's mind-boggling because she's killed in a professional manner, but what professional would send a letter like that to attract attention?
I desperately want to know what happened that day, and whatever it's going to take, we're willing to do.
They just loved each other so much. And that's the way they were.
They had with our victim. We went through her phone records. We couldn't find any evidence that she was having phone contact, texts, emails through her computer. We had no evidence that there was a romantic relationship outside the ones that we were aware of. Her previous ex-husbands and her current husband. We could not find any evidence of an affair. We take the letter. We send it off to the GBI for DNA. We're hoping that we get something off the envelope, the stamp, the letters that are pasted, but we do not get DNA from that letter. You can compare the letter to money, grub, and whore. I loved her. She said we could be together. She told me that she hated her house and the fat, miserable, lying husband. She said she loved me, but that was a lie too. I told her this would happen if she didn't keep her promises. Went to school with a guy that looked like that, or, I worked with a guy that looked like that. And we looked into all those, but then we at one point put it out nationally in the hopes that we would get, more tips, which we did. And every time you put out the sketch, we'll generate a few tips, but nothing has led to any identification of any suspect. Several months after Kay's death, we're still in the infancy of the investigation. We get another great lead, we think. We're contacted by a local newspaper who received a letter. I bet Kay Wennell never told anyone what she really was. It turns out she was to me. Well, reading this is certainly disturbing. I mean, it really hits home. This is a lot of anger, super angry. You can interpret the letter two ways. Is it someone trying to throw us off? Somebody who did it and say, no, let's send this out there and make them look in a different way.
They acted like they were best friends. I do think that the reason that the detectives were there at the funeral home was maybe they suspected it was a colleague or an employee, somebody close to the Wennells or an associate. But that's just my perspective looking back.
So we released the sketch to the public just to generate some tips. And people would say,
When I was always around them. Just loving each other so much and happy. Not a worry in the world. When I visited in Georgia, which was several times, it never even crossed my mind that she would be having an affair. And she could have had been, I just knew nothing about it.
And it's been like that for 15 years. You don't know who's responsible for this. Who is it? You don't know.
It's driving me crazy trying to figure out what took place. Detective, I don't know. I try to stay busy morning, noon, night. I hate the morning.
Staying on camera. There are a couple of things that I've talked to the police about, and I'm just going to leave it at that. After her murder, I always look in the rearview mirror. I'll know if somebody's following me. Watch my surroundings wherever I go.
As God is my judge, I don't think Kay was having an affair. She had to be the best damn actress in the world.
I honestly...
Or anybody, because It takes a month and a half even to wake up in the morning and your mate's not beside you.
It's very personal. The money grabbing whore and several other things pinpoint to a female wrote that. It had to be somebody that knew her really well. She didn't tell a lot of people that she hated her house. I remember hearing her say one time, she was talking to another employee and she was saying, "Oh, I hate my house." She wanted to buy a house. She didn't want to rent. To me, like they did. That was a personal, very personal attack. That was done to send a message. To hurt him and get her out of the way. It wasn't just random. I don't think. You don't cut somebody's throat from ear to ear just randomly. There are things about this case I don't feel comfortable.
It's going to work because I know I'm coming home to that house at night. Weekends I despise. I hope this never happens to you. There are nights I wake up crying my heart out, middle of the night, like a child. I've never known loneliness like this. It's a loneliness you can't reach because you have that thing with your mate, you know, and it's horrible. It's really horrible, and especially if you don't know why.
He just dropped dead of a heart attack. Just
to the crime scene, okay? So we know the guy, he's prepared. He's wearing gloves. He's very professional. He doesn't leave anything behind. And the same thing with the letter. He's very careful about how he constructs it. He's thinking about DNA. He's thinking about fingerprints. So I guess it suggests somebody who knows what they're doing or they're meticulous.
What do you think happened? Tell me what you think in your mind happened to Kay.
So I think it's somebody she knew and knew her, possibly knows.
It's made to look like a jilted lover. But I hear a lot of anger towards Hal, not towards Kay. If you take the fat, miserable life.
Sitting at a table, head down, boom. Right in the middle of a restaurant. I was like, oh my gosh. He just could not stand living any longer without Kay is what I'm thinking. When I got the phone call, Hal had passed away that day. I
honestly do not think that Kay was having an affair. I honestly don't. I think the letter is a ruse to make it sound like she was, but I don't think so. So my opinion is the female wrote this. That was when I first saw it. That's the first thing that I said was that came from a woman.
It was like losing Kay all over again. It's just difficult. He was really sweet. A sweet man, but I was very brokenhearted.
Possibly not. I mean, how can you give up?
I mean, look how beautiful she is. You know, they were very happy. He was a jerk. I mean, he really was to work for, but he was a good guy. I mean, other than his business, I do miss him. And I wish he'd had the answers that he wanted. Hal's dishonesty, he was dishonest about a lot of things in a lot of aspects of his life, but never once did I ever think he had any.
That was the last connection I had to Kay. You know, Hal always wanted me to take his picture those first 2 years. Every time I changed the flowers, Hal wanted a picture right there by her headstone. You know, over the years, I've gone back and we've made a special trip to Atlanta just to do that. Because that's just something I want to do for my sister.
Technology website, you have to get another profile. We send it off and we learn that, okay, yes, there's potentially some DNA of a male profile on the towel, but not enough to put into the genealogy site. So it's just another roadblock.
I just wanted to say this. I want nothing more on God's earth than to find the guy who did this. And more important, why it had to happen. And there are many nights I don't sleep, and I give everything I have to get Kay's killer, to bring him to justice.
I will never drop it. I'm in for the long haul. I don't want Kay.
15 years. It's a long time. Not giving up. Always have hope. Always get excited about new information, new tips. So hopefully what we're doing today will lead to some new information, another tip. Yeah, always hopeful. Never going to give up. I think we owe it to Kay. I think we owe it to Kay's family to continue to work on it. How can you?
Just peace of mind for me. My parents didn't get it. I want it.
And our hope is that one day this DNA evolves, that we can find our suspect through the genealogy databases. Absolutely, this case is solvable. I would never give up on any case, however long they go. This has been
MF of a husband. This person's angry with Hal. Whether this person had actually committed the crime, I don't know. But the person who wrote that letter had a hand in her murder. The general consensus in the office was that Kay knew who murdered her. Cutting her throat like anything to do with Kay's murder. He was never the same after her murder. He was at that gravesite every single day. He'd sit there for hours, talk to her. Somebody that had something to do with a murder wouldn't do that, in my opinion. She was a beautiful soul, an angel in my eyes. I never would have thought the end of their story would have been what it is. She was viciously murdered, and he died of a broken heart. If somebody's out there that knows something, they should come forward. It's been 15 years. It's time for justice to be served. It's time for justice to be served.
Take it on for me. And Kay would never quit. But I'm not going to stop. I see cases all the time that's solved 40 years later. I'm waiting for that person to sit down and tell somebody to spill his guts. I wish he'd just pick up the phone and call me. Let me know what Kay did to you. Why did she make you so angry? I just want those questions answered.
I have an idea or a suspect in mind, but I'm not going to reveal that. I'm afraid for my life. I mean, if Kay can be killed, anybody can be killed. But I do have a suspect in mind. Yeah, I do.
Several of the photos in particular were strikingly similar to the sketch that we had from our witness. For years, we wanted to identify that person in the photo. It's odd that that photo has been out in the national media for so long and that person never saw it or never responded if they did see it. Maybe we can get information from him. Maybe he can lead us to a suspect. Maybe he knows something we don't know.
To be the forgotten one. I'm not only the last person, I'm the only person. Nobody else has called that to police department. None of our relatives. I'm the only one. I took this on because Kay would.
We eventually sent the towel, the lingerie, the glove again to try to see if we can extract additional DNA, because in order to put DNA into a private genealogy,
I don't think the person was adequately investigated over the years.